Jerry Rice is known as one of the, if not the, greatest wide receiver of all time, unless you ask Randy Moss. Here is a graph showing the top players for receiving yards in league history. You see spots 10 through 5 all are within 1,000 yards of each other, with around 14 to 15,000 yards. Move up to spots 3 and 4, we see a little more separation with Randy Moss and T.O. Then there's a pretty big jump to Larry Fitzgerald at number 2. Then there's Jerry, coming in at just under 23,000 yards for his career. This record seems insanely unbreakable. Now, you may say, Jerry played like a million seasons and everyone else in the top 10 didn't. It's just because Jerry played for so long that his total yards are so high. To that we would say, you're just a silly goose. If you take everyone in the top 10 and sort them by average yards per game played, Jerry is just a yard short of Marvin Harrison, who only played for 13 seasons. Meaning he played at a higher caliber than many of these great wide receivers and did it for almost 2 decades. It seems like kickers tend to suck when it matters most, but do kickers actually have a higher chance of shanking that kick when under pressure? All field goals add about 17 yards to where the ball is, since the holder is 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage and the end zone is 10 yards long. So if the ball is on the 1 yard line, it'll be an 18-yard kick. Big brain. Here are the kicking percentages from every zone in 5-yard increments. So, under pressure, do kickers actually suck more? Yeah, but not a lot more. Here are the percentages when there is less than a minute left in the game and the kick is to win or tie the game. We can see there isn't a massive difference in some of these distances, but kicks from a distance of 38 to 42 yards have an 8% drop in crunch time. There is a slightly better chance of making the kick under pressure from the distance of 53 to 57 yards. Because, we actually have no idea, but it's interesting to see. The data we used is from 1998 on, because kickers in the 60s were good for only about 50% of their attempts compared to 85% this last season. So next time your 85-year-old grandpa says he used to stripe it when he was a kicker, remind him that he probably sucked. Since the 2001 season, they've kept a record of the outcome of every drive in the NFL. Which one do you think is the most common? With more than double the likelihood of the next outcome, the offense punts the ball about 40% of the time. Does this mean that the punter is more valuable than the quarterback? Probably. Touchdowns and field goals account for around a third of all possessions, while turnovers, like interceptions and fumbles, account for 16%. The most unlikely way for a drive to end? 2 are tied. One is a block field goal on 4th down where the kicking team recovers it and turns it over on downs. The other is a blocked punt resulting in a safety where the kicking team recovers the ball in the end zone after it was blocked. Out of the 124,482 drives, both of these have only happened once. If you're an NFL fan, or just a fan of farms and jeans I guess, you know the greatness of Brett Favre. NFL Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, MVP winner. He set many records during his career that have been broken by other greats. But there is one record that Brett Favre is likely to hold for a while. Here's a list of quarterbacks with the most interceptions thrown in NFL history. As you can see, Favre beats out the rest by a lot. With Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers announcing retirement, the next active player is Ben Roethlisberger. With his current career interception rate, Big Ben would need to play 9 more seasons to challenge Favre's record, when he would be nearly 50 years old. Aaron Rodgers, who has the best TD to interception rate in NFL history, would need to play just 34 more seasons, or until the age of 70. To put this in perspective, Brett Favre's interception rate is nearly identical to the 30 for 30 man Jameis Winston. With the reduction in interception rate league-wide, this record will stand for a long, long time. Or maybe Jameis is a starter for the rest of his career and we eat our words. We may have just witnessed the last season of one of the NFL all-time greats, Drew Brees. Brees holds many pages in the NFL all-time record books. He is first all-time in passing yards, first all-time in completed passes, first all-time in untuck-it commercials, and second all-time for passing touchdowns. Brees has been a consistent threat throughout his entire career, and this graph shows you how. There have been a total of 8 quarterbacks in NFL history who have thrown for 5,000 or more yards in a single season. Every single one of these quarterbacks has accomplished this feat only once. Except Brees. He did it 5 times. And if he had 48 more yards in 2014, it would be 6 times. Since we're talking about old quarterbacks, let's talk about the player who has more Super Bowl wins than any other active quarterback not named Tom Brady. Ben Roethlisberger has been elite for a long time. While Tom Brady and Drew Brees get all the attention, Big Ben has quietly been the most consistently efficient quarterback ever, at least when it comes to completion percentage. For 11 plus seasons, Roethlisberger hasn't had one game with a completion rate under 50%. Not one. 174 straight games and counting. To put this in perspective, this streak started before the iPad came out, Uber wasn't even a thing yet, and LeBron was playing in Cleveland with Shaq. What's more incredible is he's done this while still being aggressive. During this streak, he led the league in passing yards per game 3 times. Now, it wouldn't be a segment on Big Ben without him being overshadowed by someone better. Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson have yet to have one career game below 50% completion. Still, they have over half a decade before they would even come close to 174 games. Running backs have never been more disposable. It seems almost every back that gets a new contract doesn't live up to it. It's a high-risk position that most teams have decided to throw more players at rather than more money, and the numbers back this up. With increased production comes an increase in touches, which, at a certain point, leads to a disproportionate amount of injuries or drop-off in results. This breaking point is apparently at 370 rushes. This has been very creatively dubbed the curse of 370. With a few exceptions, when a back has reached 370 rushes in a season, the following season hasn't gone too well. Here are the rushing yards for every season since 1970 where a player had 370 rushes. And here are the yards in the following season. Pretty much all the ones that stick out belong to Eric Dickerson. Remove those and you're left with an interesting trend. Derrick Henry did cross the threshold this season, so we'll see how he fares. Before Henry, the last person to do it was DeMarco Murray back in 2014, who saw his production drop over 1,100 yards the following season, even though he played in all but one game.